Hi, welcome to this session. In this session, we would be reviewing variables in R. Here, every column in a data frame is a variable, and many a times we need to understand the nature, the class, and the types variable belongs to. So, this session is important to understand everything about a variable or a column in your data frame. So starting with importing the data, we have discussed several times how to import. This is the function used to import the data set, and I'll share the data set with you. You can download it from the description box. I have given you the link. You can download it from there. So first and foremost, I wish to print the list of variables onto the screen. All the variables that are present in my data frame, I need to print them on the screen. So I use the simple function names that gives me the names of all the variables. So just run it. So you get the list of all the variables and their names. Okay. So these are the various names of the variables. So by looking at it, I can say that there are 14 variables where the first variable is total value and the last 14th variable is remodel. The second, now I want the list of all these variables in a column format. Now we saw that in a row format, I need to see the same list in a column format. In that case, what you need to do is to transpose that rows into a column. So the T function is transpose. Okay. So you need to transpose it, and this is how we write the function. Okay. So here we are transposing it twice. Okay. Now you have to understand, if I transpose it once, it just creates a one by one matrix. So this is not exactly what I'm looking for. You could see that this is how it has created. I don't want to see that. It has given me a matrix format wherein I have 3 rows and 14 columns. Okay. So I want the entire thing to be transposed into one column. So here I want in fact, this is I would say 1 into 14 matrix. I need a 1 by 1 matrix. So let us do that. I need to double transpose it. So once again, if you run this T, you would get it. Now this is how you transpose it again, and you get the list this way, okay, in a column format. Hope that's clear. So only logic is, initially I got a 1 by 14 matrix, and I transpose it for the second time, I get a 1 by 1 matrix, okay, which looks like a column format. Now, for instance, the next problem I need to solve is I need to change the name of the first column of my data frame. For instance, let us say the first name of my data frame was, the first column or the first variable had the name total dot value. I want to change that to total underscore value. Okay, I need to change that to total underscore value. So how do I go ahead? Now simply column names, that is call names. This is your data, and I call the first column. So I use the first index and I'm labeling it as total value. Fine. So this is how you run, and the first column name would be changed. Okay. Now if I just run this and check names and then housing.df. Now let us check the first one. See, earlier it was total.value. Now I changed it to total underscore value. Now the 14th variable, which is remodel, okay, that is a factor variable. Now factors are usually those categorical variables which can be used to group your data, or to put it in simple words, you can use a factor variable to filter if it is in Excel. Now that is a factor variable. Now I know that remodel is a factor variable. Now I would just check the class and explain you the output of the same. Now I use class housing.df, and when I use dollar to fetch the remodel column, I get this as a character. Okay. Now if I just check the structure, okay, and I use the function structure, and use the same arguments within this function, then see what happens. Now when I'm using this, okay, now you say, now this is a character and it has got 5,802 observations, and these are the various levels it has: none, recent, none, 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 and so these are the various inputs in that column. Okay, so you get the same kind of an output, but there is a difference because structure gives you a more elaborate output. So every time if you just want to know what is the class of a particular variable, the class function is enough. But if you want detailed understanding of that variable, you need to use structure. Now I can use the same, okay, to get the same thing, I can use a different code where I would use class, and this is the housing.df, and I would use the square bracket, all rows, comma, the index of the 14th column, that is remodel column. This also gives me a character. Okay, this is a character. Fine. So whenever you have that variables which has got levels, okay, if I just to make you understand further, okay, if I just use the data frame, just observe this, okay, my data frame is housing.df, and if I use structure of the entire data frame, housing.df, in this case you will get the class of each variable. Okay, you can see that these are the various variables, and this talks about the class, number, integer, okay, that is num is numeric, int is integer, so on. So remodel is character. Now remember, every factor is a character. Now if you just want to change it into, okay, if you want to change the 14th column, that is the remodel column, into a factor and even check the levels, then what you need to do, let's see. What you have to simply do is, as you simply have to use housing.df, this is the data frame, and dollar, select whichever variable I want, this is remodel, okay, and then I would convert it into a factor as dot factor. So I'll use the same thing, housing.df, dollar, my remodel column. Fine. Now I run this. In this case, after I run this, if I check the structure of my data frame, now just observe what happens. So you see, remodel is a factor with 3 levels. And what are those levels? None, old, and recent. Fine. So this is how, when you get to know that there is a character variable and it can be used to filter your data, it can be used as a categorical variable, then it is advisable that you change that into a factor. Okay, and how to change that, I have just demonstrated the same to you. Now once you have converted that any particular variable into a factor, then you can check the levels also. Okay, when I run the structure, it gives me the entire output. So if I just want to see or check the levels of a particular factor variable, then you can simply use levels and whatever the data frame, dollar, and just reach the variable. So here levels, housing.df, and dollar remodel. So now I get to see there are 3 levels: none, old, and recent. Fine. So I hope that brings in clarity about what a factor is. Moving on, I know that bedrooms is an integer variable, okay, because it cannot be 1.5 or 1.97. It would be only 0, 1, 2, 3, and on and so on. So if I just check the class of housing.df bedrooms, you would see this is an integer, right? But you would see that For instance, let us say I want to check the total value. The total value of a property can be anything in decimals as well. Okay. So in such case, when I check class housing.df and I use the first column is total value, and I run it, you get to see that it's a numeric. Okay. So these are various reviewing techniques of a particular variable. So whenever you are working with a data set, you need to have a better understanding about variable. So these are some handy functions that you can use to understand your variables. Thank you for watching. Do spread the good word.